I'm joined on the line now by Geoffroy, who's in town tonight at the 27 Club. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you. I'm great. Thanks.
Excellent. So as mentioned, you just released your second full-length album, 1952, earlier this month, and it's really beautiful. So I've been looking forward to chatting with you.
Thank you.
So
You just played two songs back to back. That's amazing.
yeah, I got another one after the interview I'm going to slap on too. It's hard sometimes to pick songs, so if I can play more, that's one of the perks of campus community radio, right?
Nice respect.
So yeah, I'm kind of curious, what role did your childhood home play in the creation of this album?
I think it was all based around that pretty much. So my mother passed during the composition process of this album, and I went back into the childhood memories, be it the video cassettes that we had lying around in the house or the photos, etc., just to surround myself in that kind of memory and to put myself in a bubble to write and to compose. And I think what we came up with after is quite personal, but works well. It seems to work well and touch people as well. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the result.
Now, I read that you actually sat in your backyard at your childhood home while doing the writing, and I'm curious to what the significance is of the backyard. Is that a place where you played a lot as a kid, or just had memories of your mother, or what was it?
I don't know if I wrote per se there, but I definitely went back. I still go back to my parents' house often. It's just all the memories are there. You know, we had a pool growing up, and my mom had a garden around the pool, and that's a big part of her. So I did, spend some time there. And if you see in the booklet of the CD booklet or the vinyl booklet, also there's a drawing of the pool per se with the garden around it. So it is an important memory for me.
Nice. Now, you have a distinctive sound, and I think that can go a long way to making an artist stand out from the crowd. But I'm curious, have you been actively working on creating a sound that feels like you, or is this simply how the music comes out of you?
It definitely is just how the music came out. My producers and I worked on something instinctively, and that's what came out. We didn't try to go for a certain sound, or we didn't try to be different or anything like that. It's just the way it happened, and I'm thankful for you to say that it is different and it's standing out from the crowd. It's a very nice compliment.
Yeah, it's very recognizable, which I always think is a good thing. So,
Mm-hmm.
I know you're.
We always.
Sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I think we always try to keep it soft and just not aggressive, and that's like kind of the base of everything.
Well, and that's interesting because I just saw a band, last week, and in a smaller venue, when a band plays quite loud, you can lose some of the details, I find. And one of the things I found about this band is that they didn't jack the volume up so much, so you could hear the little intricate parts of the music. So, you mentioning being soft, to me that allows a whole lot of intimacy and subtlety in the music. Are you feeling the same way when you're doing it?
Absolutely, and when we're creating as well, we pay a lot of attention to the details and the production side of things and the lyrics after as well. So it's important for us that those details come out during the live set as well.
What's the challenge then when you do that live to recreate it? If you're spending so much time being careful in the studio, you don't have that same luxury live. How do you reconcile that?
True. So you let go of some things, and for the other things, you make sure that they stand out in the mix. And that just takes experience and time, and we need to run the show a little, and then after you run the show a little, you can adjust. And it's all about having an amazing sound man, too, which we have and are lucky to have. Excellent.
Now, you're very passionate about traveling. Why is it so important to you and the music that you make?
To me, it's what keeps me going, and I like the adventure. I like to meet new people and see, discover new cultures, discover new places, and just the excitement of anything new is interesting to me. So that's, I guess, naturally after traveling so much, it kind of somehow is reflected in the music. I just don't know exactly how it is. Some people tell me like I listen to the music while traveling, and it feels great, and it feels that it was made for that. But I think it's just part of myself, my personality, that is after reflected in the music, and traveling is a big part of my personality. So I guess it is naturally reflected.
Well, it's not only reflected.
Hard to explain.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's not only reflected in the music, but in the music videos. I find too. We just played the song "21
sure.
Days," which you shot in India, and it's almost interactive and immersive, like following you through, and it feels very exciting, like you're on this journey with you. And then I think the video for "Sleeping on My Own," I believe you shot that in Peru. So
in Mexico.
Yeah, okay, Mexico. There you go. So I mean, it's really interesting to see, and I love the fact that you maybe got into a Bollywood movie as well. Did that ever happen? Or
It did. Yeah. So the videos are like exactly what happened while traveling.
Yeah.
I like to take the excuse of having a budget to shoot a video just to pay for a trip, actually, and that's what happened in Mexico and in India. In India, we left for 10 days, and we shot for 10 days. Basically, we went on different adventures, and we bumped into this Bollywood crew who were filming a music video for a Bollywood artist, actually, and we ended up being extras on their set, and including that in our video. So it was like Inception. It was amazing. We were lucky to stumble upon that, but that's what happens when you're traveling. It's like the unexpected happens, and it's nice to after have that on camera and translate that in a music video.
And it's such a great story to tell now too.
Yeah. It's just fun. It's good memories, and it makes it very motivating to make music videos after. It's not a chore, It's like
absolutely,
it's a pleasure.
Well, so speaking of those adventures, what's the craziest or most interesting thing that's happened to you, either while touring or even just traveling for fun?
Oh, man, that's always a hard question that I try to skip, because there's stories every day, but they're maybe funny for us, but not funny for other people. Going to India is one crazy thing. Like, and for 10 days, it's 35 hours of plane, and then I think a 10-hour jet lag, 10-hour time difference. Sorry, but crazy. I don't know, man. Having a cow sit in front of your car for an hour is pretty crazy. You're getting completely sick because of Indian food on the side road is another. I don't know. There's too many stories to tell, man.
So you got to take the good with the bad, right? It's the facts of life.
They go together hand in hand.
So years ago, you took part in the TV show The Voice, where talented singers, vie to be the winner. Why did you decide to give that a try?
Oh, I didn't do that.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, I read that you had taken part in the Voice.
No, I'm kidding. I did, but
okay.
It's really not my vibe. It's really not my style. I was living in Spain doing a master's degree at Berkeley in Valencia, and then when I came back, I was working as a driver for Just Relax with my buddy.
Okay.
And our like general headquarters were right next to the hotel where they were standing auditions for that TV show, and my friend was like, "Yo, there's a TV show. It's about music or singing or I don't know, but they're having auditions today. You have to go." And it started out as a kind of a dare, and I didn't know what I was getting into. And then they called me back, and they're like, "Oh, well, you made it up to the show if you want to come." And I gave it a thought, and I just said, why not? Louis Jean Cormier was an artist on the panel, and that was pretty much the only reason. I was like, if he's doing it, I can afford to go and try it.
Yeah.
And even though it's not my cup of tea, I don't watch the show, and it's really not the kind of direction that I'm in now or was ever in. I think it kind of helped me, it motivated me in a way, and it demonstrated that there was an audience ready or interested in what I could do.
Yeah.
But it's really not something that I'll put forward or
pursue. Yeah. At the end of the day, though, it's another story you can tell around the table, right?
It is. So it's just that sometimes people have preconceived expectations about people that go and do those TV shows, and I understand. So I just want to try to avoid that because it's very different from what we actually do or make now.
Yeah, no, it's fair. And I think anyone who listens to your music or sees you live will totally get that. So I'm speaking to Geoffroy, who's performing at the 27 Club tonight. Now, you've talked in the past about not resisting temptation and that being a source of inspiration for you and maybe simply being a key to a good life. So it's really kind of beautifully hedonistic, but I'm wondering, has that ever gotten you into trouble?
For sure, man. And that's part of it, and that's part of the story. I think there's good and bad from every decision that will come spontaneously. But I think life is short and meant to be lived fully, and that means not resisting the urge to do something or the urge to take an important decision. I mean, you feel it in your gut what's good for you and the direction that you need to take in life, whether it is for work or with a partner or anything for that matter. And I think you just go for it, and then you deal with the consequences after. If not, it'll eat you up from the inside.
Mm-hmm. Life's short, right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is, and I've learned that, as you know, in the past decade.
Now, you're very open about the use of drugs to open your mind and grow. So how do you avoid falling into that musician stereotype where it takes over and actually gets in the way of making great music?
When you say drugs, it's mostly like psychedelics and weed, and for me. And I think they just open the mind and allow you to tap into your brain and allow you to tap into different areas of your brain and just get the creative juices flowing better. They're also very fun.
Yeah.
But they are very efficient in a way that they tame down the ego. And I think that's something that everybody should get a little of. Now, for the stereotypes, I guess everybody has preconceived notions of like people doing drugs, but it depends what kind of drugs we're talking about. I don't see psychedelics as a very druggy kind of drug.
It's a big difference between that and heroin, right? So
yeah, they're just like, it's more of a ceremony than it is a recreational drug, at least for me. And weed is just different. It's just like coffee for me. It's something that I do on the daily, and that again, I think tames down the ego.
Now, you mentioned ego, and that's kind of interesting to me because you often hear of high-level people, be it athletes, musicians, whatever, but you hear particularly with athletes that there's an element of ego involved, and that's part of the reason that they're able to achieve such a high level. And here you're saying that, taming the ego is maybe in the best interest of your music. So
yeah,
can you don't see a place where ego in music can really help create?
Maybe it can help you motivate you to go further and achieve more success, but you have to learn to tame it and to control it, because at the end of the day, you're just another human being. You're singing, but other people are doing other shit. Like someone's cooking fried chicken in a Popeye's kitchen, and that's he or she isn't in a I just don't think that wait, let me rephrase. I think that every job or every responsibility in life is as important as the other. I don't think that because you're an athlete or a singer, you deserve more respect or you deserve to be put on a throne or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think the ego will do any good. Actually, I would disagree with the comments, but I'd be interested in talking about it and like seeing their perspective on this and why they think it would be efficient to feed the ego. But I don't think it is. I don't think it is.
I appreciate that. You see, you mentioned being a regular user of weed. Now that it's legal in Canada, has that changed your life, other than maybe not having to hide it some places? Or
no, I never really hit it before. I got arrested a few times on the street, but I talked my way out of it just logically. It's very complicated, the legalization, because now each province in Canada creates their own law about smoking in public or growing, etc. And at the moment in Quebec, the law just changed that you're not allowed to smoke in public anymore. I can't follow it, and I don't understand the reasoning, so I just do my thing, man. Yep. Whatever, legal or not.
You just do not resist temptation, right? You just go for it.
Well, it's just part of my life, and I don't see any reason not to do it. You know, I won't do it in people's faces outside. You know, if there's a kid, I'll change the side of the street that I'm on, but. You know, just I try to be respectful, and I leave it at that. I do my thing after.
Yeah, you're not walking into a kindergarten class and showing them how to roll one,
no,
right?
I'm not being stupid. You know, I'm just doing my thing, but right. It's just basic respect after.
Now, on the new album, 1952, I mean, you can feel that real sense of loss, and you mentioned, you know, writing it with your mother passing away. Is all that feeling of loss strictly about, you know, your relationship and dealing with your mother's passing, or is it about other loss in life as well?
That's a great question. I think it's about other loss as well. Creating that album has, writing it has just made me reflect a lot. So I think the whole album is an introspection. About 5 of the 12 songs on the record are about the loss of my mother, but the other songs are about other introspections and other thoughts that I've had on my personality, on past relationships, etc. So it's nice that you mentioned that, you know, it's there's other introspections in play here.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm curious, you know, I've spoken with lots of artists over the years, and a lot of them find that, you know, when they write songs about something very personal or emotional, that performing it, recording it, it can be a very cathartic experience for them, especially when dealing with loss. But I've also had some artists tell me, you know, if you know the artist Evening Hymns, he wrote a very personal record about his father passing away, and it was very difficult for him to perform it live. It wasn't a cathartic experience. It was sort of reliving it to the point where he kind of had to stop. You know, he couldn't keep performing it. And I'm wondering how you're feeling about performing these songs live.
I think I'm lucky in a way that it feels great to perform live, and it feels liberating. And the people are singing back the lyrics that you wrote for your mom, and there's kind of a magical thing there, and it gives me goosebumps every time. And I'm lucky to be surrounded by my friends on stage too. You know, we're 4, often 5 on stage, and they're my good buddies. So I feel supported by them and by the crowd. And it's not because the lyrics are sad or, you know, that the experience is sad. I think there's a lot of hope in the songs too, and that comes through. And for me, I'm just very, very, I feel blessed and happy to be able to play these songs that are so personal, live in front of so many people that are interested. You know, it's a blessing.
Well, and you mentioned sort of the hope in the songs, and so while you you can feel the sadness, they aren't necessarily sad songs. If you understand the difference that I'm trying to say, like they're not somber, even if there's an element of sadness to it, which is a really kind of interesting mix as a listener. So.
No, I tried to keep a lot of hope in the songs and not make them too sad or depressing, etc. I know the subject matter is kind of obviously sad, but the vibe in general isn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Now, you mentioned having your bandmates who, you have very good relationships with. What's going to be the setup for the show tonight? Is it going to be that full band? Will it be stripped down or just a solo show?
No, we're 4 on stage tonight, so pretty much full band. And with drums, percussions, and guitar, bass, everything, all the shebang. It's going to be a really good show. We just played it last night in Toronto, and it's a sold-out great hall. And tonight we're playing a sold-out Ottawa, so it's kind of very... I mean, we're lucky, man. It's leaving our hometown and then going to these cities away from home and selling out is a dream that I couldn't have imagined.
That's amazing.
In the Lavoie days, for example,
That's right. So the show is tonight at the 27 Club. The doors are at 8. I know it says sold out. I thought I heard there might be a couple tickets available at the door only, but I don't know for sure. So thanks for coming on today for a chat. I'm really looking forward to the show tonight.
Thank you. It was a great interview. Very interesting.
Thanks so much. Going to play one more track from your album here, and we'll get you ready for the show tonight. This is a track called Fooling Myself.